Morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. I guess I will share my screen and we'll just go through these verses together. There's a few today, and hopefully I'm sharing the right one. Hold on 1 second here. Do 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 do. Ookie dookie. All right, now we'll share my screen. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that okay. There's a couple of verses, so I'm going to just read all the Sanskrit through until the last one, which is verse 12, and then we can take turns reading that verse in Sanskrit together. So, Attatrapiti hashoyam shrutume varnita pura brahmana deva devena devanam anuprichatam. Atha, now, atra, in this matter, api, also, itihasya, history, ayam, this, shruta, heard, me, by me, varnita, described, pura, years ago, brahmana, by Brahma, devana, the foremost of the demigods, devanam, by the demigods, anuprichatam, asking. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This history of the fight between the Lord as a boar and the demon Hiranyakashipu, or Hiranyakasha, was heard by me in a year long ago, as it was described by the foremost of the demigods, Brahma, when he was questioned by the other demigods. Verse 8. Dityar dakshayani katsar marikam kashyapam patim atpataya kamachakame sandhyayam hrichayar diti dakshayani, the daughter of Daksha, Kshata, Ovidura, Marikam, the son of Marichi, Kashyapa, Patim, her husband, Apatya Kama, desirous of having a child, Chakame, longed for, Sandhyayam, in the evening, Kritsaya, by sex desires, Ardita, distressed. Translation. Diti, daughter of Daksha, being afflicted with sex desire, begged her husband Kashyapa, the son of Marichi, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child. Verse 9. Itsvagni jivampayasya purusham yajusam patim nimlokati arka ashinam agni agari samahitam. Ishtva, after worshipping, Agni, fire, Jivam, tongue, Payasya, by oblation, Purusham, unto the Supreme Person, Yajusham, of all sacrifices, Patim, master, Nimlokati, wall setting, Arke, the sun, Ashinam, sitting, Agni Agare, in the sacrificial hall, Samathitam, completely in trance. Translation and purport. The sun was setting, and the sage was sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, whose tongue is the sacrificial fire. Fire is considered to be the tongue of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, and oblations of grain and clarified butter offered to the fire are thus accepted by him. This is the principle of all sacrifices, of which Lord Vishnu is the master. In other words, the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu includes the satisfaction of all demigods and other living beings. Ditir uvacha isamam tvat krite vidvam kama atta sarashana dunoti dinam vikaramya ramba iva matangaja. Diti uvacha, beautiful Diti said, Esaha, of these, mam, unto me, tavat krite, for you, vidvan, O learned one, kama, Cupid, ata sharashana, taking his arrows, Dunati, distresses. Dinam, poor me. Vikramya, attacking. Rabam, banana tree. Eva, like. Matam Gaja, mad elephant. Translation. In that place, the beautiful Diti expressed her desire, O learned one, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly as a mad elephant troubles a banana tree. Purport. Beautiful Diti, seeing her husband absorbed in trance, began to speak loudly, not attempting to attract him by bodily expressions. She frankly said that her whole body was distressed by sex desire because of her husband's presence, just as a banana tree is troubled by a mad elephant. It was not natural for her to agitate her husband when he was in trance, but she could not control her strong sexual appetite. Her sex desire was like a mad elephant, and therefore it was the prime duty of her husband to give her all protection by fulfilling her desires. Okay, verse 11. Tad bhavam dahayam hamanayam sapatinam samriddhi hirdibi prajavatinam badram te mayang yungtam anugraham. Tat, therefore, bhavan, your good self, dayamanayam, being distressed, sapatinam, of the co-wives, samdribi, by the prosperity, prajavatinam, of those who have children, badram, all prosperity, te, unto you, mai, unto me, ayunktam, do unto me in all respects, anugraham, favor. Therefore, you should be kind toward me by showing me complete mercy. I desire to have sons. I am much distressed by seeing the opulence of my co-wives. By performing this act, you will become happy. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, sexual intercourse for begetting children is accepted as righteous. A person sexually inclined for simple sense gratification, however, is unrighteous. In Diti's appeal to her husband for sex, it was not exactly that she was afflicted by sex desire, but she desired sons. Since she had no sons, she felt poorer than her co-wives. Therefore, Kashyapa was supposed to satisfy his bona fide wife. Verse 12, which is the last verse for today. So we'll read this one together. Bhartari aptora rumananam lokan avishate yashya patir bhavad vido yasham prajaya nanujayate. So since we had so many verses, I won't read it 3 times. Does anyone else want to read?
Hare Krishna, Mother.
Hare Krishna.
Shall I read? Okay.
I was just going to
Bha-
say I'll make it a little bit bigger. There we go. How's that?
okay. Bhatarya apto ruman na nam lokana aviste yashaha patir bhavad vido yasham prajaya nanu jayate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Anyone else like to chant?
अर्ता हि आप्तो रमानां लोकान् अभीशते यशः पतिर्भवत् विदो यशं प्रजाया नानुजायते. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Bhartarye apturumananam lokan abhishate yashaha patirbhavad vidhu yasham prajaya nanujayate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Bhartare apturumananam lokan atvisate yasa patir bhavat vidho yasam prajaya nanujayate.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So we'll read synonyms and then translation, and we'll get into today's discussion. Bhartari, by the husband. Apta uru mananam, of those who are beloved. Lokan, in the world. Avishyate, spreads. Yasha, fame. Pati, husband. Bhavat vida, like your good self. Yasham, of those. Prajaya, by children. Nanu, certainly. Jayate, expands. Translation. A woman is honored in the world by the benediction of her husband, and a husband like you will become famous by having children because you are meant for the expansion of living entities. Purport. According to Rishabhadev, one should not become a father or mother unless one is confident that he can beget children whom he can deliver from the clutches of birth and death. Human life is the only opportunity to get out of the material scene, which is full of the miseries of birth, death, old age, and diseases. Every human being should be given the opportunity to take advantage of his human form of life, and a father like Kashyapa is supposed to beget good children for the purpose of liberation. Om Jnanatimarantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitamine Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupakadamayam Dadadi Svadvadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Nama Om Vishnuvedaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Charaswamaniti Namane Snigta Chaita Supernata Vagmanam Drasa Plutam Prabhupada Gata Prananam Bhakti Charapadam. So I'm actually giving class today and tomorrow in person at the temple, and the verses kind of all go together. So what I decided to do today is I kind of prepared a class kind of for an hour and a half, but I'm going to split it in two. So I'm just going to be taking some themes for today, and some themes that are landing in today will land in tomorrow's discussion. So, like I said, I'm going to just split because I'm doing two back-to-back classes. Dronacharya Prabhu and I switched. I'm doing two back-to-back classes on these verses. We're gonna do it that way for these next 2 days. So really, I wanted to dive into kind of a few of the themes that we're seeing here. And I'm just going to reduce my screen size a minute for myself so I can see a little better. I wanted to dive into the themes of these verses for today and really tomorrow because they're all tied in. And what we're hearing about here is we're hearing about a husband and wife situation. We're hearing about desire. We're hearing about lust. We're hearing about proper samskaras for begetting children, right? There's so much packed into these couple of things that I didn't want to just try and plow through all of these themes for one day. So today, what I want to discuss is the going through the verses one by one and then going back into this concept of lust and really even talking about some of these samskaras. And then tomorrow we're going to dive into some of DT's arguments. So tomorrow, stay tuned. We're going to get into kind of going through all of her arguments because tomorrow's verses kind of encapsulate some of those arguments. Well, they're the ending point of some of those arguments. So we're going to go back through all of her arguments tomorrow and really see some of the compelling points she's making, but also some of the manipulation that she's also taking part in, especially because her husband was in meditation and offering his offers his oblations to Lord Vishnu. So I want to start by just talking about where we're at. So setting the scene is Vidura and Maitreya, right? Vidura was very eagerly hearing Maitreya's recounting of the incarnation of the boar incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and so in this wonderful history that he was receiving, he was hearing it, he was very engaged in it, but it wasn't enough. He wanted more. He wanted to just keep going with this history and understanding, and so he was asking more and more, deeper and deeper of Maitreya. And so Maitreya was sharing. So text 7 starts off with Maitreya saying this history is a fight between Lord as a boar and the demon Hiranyakasha. And he said, it was heard by me in a year long ago. I was described by the foremost of the demigods Brahma when he was questioned by other demigods. So here Maitreya is recounting this as he heard it a year and a time ago. So we don't know how long ago, but he was reflecting back to a time when he did hear it. So this sets the scene of the beginning of this story, and it suddenly opens up a new kind of introduction of personalities of Diti and Daksha, and here and Diti and Kashyapa, sorry, and here we are now suddenly seeing this young beautiful wife who is very much perturbed in her mind. She has all of her sisters who are also co-wives of Kashyapa. So she very much wants to be um, be at that status of having sons and having children and getting that level of recognition. Um, and so she is suddenly overwhelmed with this desire to have children. It's, and if we even look, I mean, we're talking about, this sex desire. So if we even look at it from, um, you know, biology, it was probably that desire for her, it was her time. She was ready. She was ready to have children. So she was looking at that saying, okay, this is my time, and she was overcome. Now we're getting into a very interesting topic here with Cupid, and I want to dive into Cupid's role here in a minute, but we're setting the scene of here's DT, this beautiful wife, this young wife, and she just very much wants children. She's very much deeply attracted to her husband. And we see her husband is, offering oblations to the Lord. He's in meditation, he's in trance, he's offering oblations to the Lord. And this is these oblations, it doesn't say, specifically that he had done a yajna, but he's doing a yajna essentially. And we know that Vishnu is the ultimate benefactor, the ultimate receiver of any yajnas, of any offerings in this way. So he was meditating, he was offering him, all of his prayers, offering his oblations, his worship to the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. And so he was in a very deep concentration, deep level of meditation, of devotion, of worship. And it was at a time of day when the sun was setting. So this is, the time, there are different times that one does certain spiritual activities. And he was taking part in a spiritual activity that at that time of day that was appropriate for that time of day. So in comes DT, his beautiful young wife, and she's very much taken by him. She wants to have this connection, and she wants to have children, and she loses all sense of her environment, let's say. She loses all sense of what is considered proper, what is proper. Her husband was doing worship, and she knows this was something she wouldn't normally do. And it says that she would not normally interrupt him, but she did. She interrupted him while he was doing this. She spoke loudly. She was making these pleas to him to be very direct in what she wanted. But she was doing it at a time and in a way that was coming from this mode of passion, this very lusty place. And and because we're studying Bhagavatam, so I want to make sure to kind of set the context here that we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, and these are giving us the context of it was in this yuga, right? So there, but it's also demonstrating for us, um, it's giving a very specific demonstration of how we can become overcome in our life. And so we can look into today's world, and I'll get into that in a little bit about in today's world, how we are not so well, not we, but as a society, are not so well governed, that self-control is not there so much anymore. Children are begotten, children are conceived in all different settings, in all different ways, often because even when they're not wanted, we hear of so many situations where a woman gets pregnant. Oops, it was maybe just someone that they had a quick relationship with. Maybe it's someone they just met that night. It could have been in a situation where it just wasn't, just happened, right? So we see all these situations, and this is not to place any judgment on anybody in society, but it is to give that example of the difference, right? So here we're seeing Diti, and even she's married, but she's doing these things out of what is prescribed Vedically. And this is what we're here to study in Srimad Bhagavatam, is what we are here to study and understand what is Vedically recommended, what is the proper course of human activity. And we can see, it's easy for us to see the diversions from that. And we can even try and justify the diversions for that in our own lives. That's fine. We're here in Kali Yuga, things are chaotic. So, and I'm saying this because it's a sensitive topic, right? This is not an easy topic to be discussing, but it's one that if we take a sensitive touch to it, and I'm trying to, hopefully I am, taking a sensitive touch to it, that we can get some deeper understanding without feeling A, rebellious toward it, or feeling B, overly fanatical. So we want to kind of find our way to an understanding that gives us, that uplifts us and helps us deepen our own practice and and improve our own life, and take these things that are being discussed here in Srimad Bhagavatam as seeing like this is what's Vedically recommended for those. Now, DT in this situation here is what is not Vedically recommended. And so oftentimes in Bhagavatam, we see both. We see the highest examples and we see the examples that go against Vedic injunction. And this is a great way for us to see both sides and the benefits or the consequences thereof. And so, and I won't do a spoiler alert, those of you who know the story of DT and Kashyapa and their sons know kind of how it comes to unfold. But we're going to just stay in the topic and the theme today of discussing the timing, Cupid's effect, and lust. So hopefully I've set the scene for today's discussion. And we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into each of those topics. So we know through, well, first of all, I want to go to Cupid because Cupid is one that is often tied to lusty behaviors. And so in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, 11th chapter, Cupid's activities are very well explained in Prabhupada's purport here. And this is verse 36. And it said, Cupid's business is to invoke mundane lust. The whole universe is moving, being agitated by Cupid's arrow. And this is what DT was saying that she was inflicted by Cupid and Cupid's arrow. The activities of the world are being carried on by the central attraction of male and female. A male is searching after a mate to his liking, and the female is looking after a suitable male. That is the way of material stimulus. And as soon as a male is combined with a female, the material bondage of the living being is at once tightly interlocked by sex relation, and the result of this, both the male's and female's attraction for a sweet home, motherland, bodily offspring, society, and friendship, and accumulation of wealth, becomes the illusory field of activities, and thus a false but indefatigable attraction for the temporary material existence, which is full of miseries, is manifest. So I'm going to give an example later of a rishi that was distracted by lust, desire, and it kind of spun him into this whole world of Sanskrit, of just wealth and wives and children and all of these things for him to only come full circle and realize that it wasn't really the end goal. And he says, Prabhupada continues on that those who are therefore on the path of salvation for going back home, back to Godhead, are especially advised by all scriptural instruction to become free from such paraphernalia of material attraction. So beware of Cupid. And that is possible only by the association of devotees of the Lord who are called Mahatmas. Cupid throws his arrow upon the living beings to make them mad after the opposite sex, whether the party is actually beautiful or not. Cupid's provocations are going on even among beastly societies who are ugly looking in the estimation of the civilized societies. Thus, Cupid's influence is exerted even amongst the ugliest forms, and what to speak of the most perfect beauties. Lord Shiva, and this is the example here, Lord Shiva, who is considered to be the most tolerant, was also struck by Cupid's arrow because he also became mad after the Mohini incarnation of the Lord and acknowledged himself to be defeated. So even Cupid could defeat Lord Shiva. But we also know that Mohini, and this is in a pastime deeper into Bhagavatam, but the Mohini incarnation is also is the Lord in disguise. So this is also why he was defeated because it was the Lord who was doing the attracting. So I just wanted to read this little snippet on Cupid's impact in society, right? So this is the thing that it is natural to seek companionship, right? It is natural to seek partnership, and then also for the human race to continue on, for any living race, the entity, not race, but any living being, animal, tree, whatever, salamanders, they all have to mate. So the mating ritual is throughout all of creation. It's essential for the carrying on of life, material life. So this is something that is built into us. It's something that Krishna put into us. So it is not something that we, can so easily manipulate. And being in these material energies, Cupid, of course, makes it even more tricky when we are struck by Cupid's arrow. That to be part of that, be part of that cycle of attraction and seeking out that mate. And so Cupid is tricky, and that's his job, right? All the demigods and all of the different personalities have so many different roles, and they are often there to stir the pot and helps keep us in the material energies, because we know, and this is a theme, the Lord does not come cheaply. So if we can, he directs all of the activities. If we are not ready to come closer to the Lord, he may throw something out there for us, throw us a little bone, and we're going chasing after it. Okay, because we still have desires. And that's part of what happens is when we get these little tests, it's testing those desires within us. And as I said, as a living entity, it's not, we are conditioned to be this way, right? How do we overcome these things? This is tricky, right? This could be seeming a little unfair. It's like, well, Krishna, how can I ever get out of this situation as a living entity, knowing that I have all these faults and these built-in mechanisms, we'll call them, that naturally take me down these material paths. How can I escape material life and go back to you? And this, like I said, it may seem unfair even at times where it's like, Krishna, this isn't fair. Like how you've constructed us this way. You're putting things out there for us that are going to naturally attract us away from you. So it is one in a very rare person that can actually go to Krishna, and that's something that we know. But I'll get into this in a minute, but we do know that the path of bhakti can free us if even in that devotion, and if we do follow in that parampara, we can get ourselves there. So it's not to be discouraged. But back to Cupid. So Cupid is there stirring the pot. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit today about how lust can really agitate one's mind. And this is really the problem. And in Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's very clearly explained. In Bhagavad Gita 16:21, Krishna says there are three gates leading to hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they can lead to the degradation of the soul. And Prabhupada's purport says the beginning of demoniac life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. So lust is the gateway to hell, but it's also very hard to, because lust can show up in so many ways. And it's not just lusty sexual desires, it's lust that can come up in so many different ways in our lives, that we're lusting after some wealth or fame, or a new something, and so we have to be very careful and be very, um, very aware of how lust can come into our minds. In the uh, in another chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this is the Supreme Personality of God had said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. And so here, Prabhupada says in the purport, when a living entity comes in contact with material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust, in association with the mode of passion. Or in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy. Again, this is the same. Lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. So this is a tough one, right? This is not easy to disentangle from. However, we know that this is pretty important. So if we want to disentangle ourselves from lust, then we have to do that which is going to keep our attention focused on a relationship with the Lord, because it is our natural desires. It's very covered over, very, but the natural desire, the natural uh, position of the soul is to have a deep, loving relationship with the Lord. But when that's covered over, that same desire still manifests. But we know that, even the example of the banyan tree, we know that there's the reality, and then there's the perverted reflection here in the material world. So when that desire that is not directed toward the Lord, and when it's directed toward material energies, then it is not being purified. Our relationship with the Lord can become purified by the Lord's energy, by the Lord's mercy. But if we're turning our backs to the Lord and directing that same desire into material activities, that is going to then become very tainted and pull us down and pull us away. And this is, like I said, where we are very susceptible to the influences of Cupid, very susceptible to the influences of Maya, because she's there to keep us entangled in material energies. That's her job. We don't have to, she's not the bad guy here. She's just doing her job. She's reminding us of where we have to do some work to deal with the desires in our hearts. So it's not easy to overcome these. And even great sages have been verily tested, have been heartily tested by these concepts, by lust, and even by, as the topic for today, even by sex desire. And so we have this example of Subari Muni. Subari Muni was a great sage. He was meditating in the bottom of the river, in the bottom of the water, and meditating there for a long time, deep in meditation. And suddenly something catches his attention. And he's suddenly like seeing two fish mating. It's kind of comical to think about it, but it's this is this the how delicate our minds are and how easily we can be pulled. He sees two fish mating, is suddenly just agitated. He's completely agitated by this desire to marry and this desire to have sex life and engage in the material world. So he was this great sage, just in constant meditation all the time. Yet now he suddenly is agitated by seeing two fish mating and everything's out the window in that one moment. In that one moment. And here this is in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the ninth canto, chapter 6. And he says, in the beginning, I was alone and engaged in performing the austerities of mystic yoga. But later, because of the association of fish engaged in sex, I desired to marry. Then I became the husband of 50 wives, and in each of them I begot 100 sons, and thus my family increased to 5,000 members. By the influence of the modes of material nature, I became fallen and thought that I would be happy in material life. Thus, there is no need to end my material desires for enjoyment in this life and then in the next. So, and it says, in this way, he passed his life in household affairs for some time, but then he became detached from material enjoyment. He realized not all it's cut out to be. He realized that this was it, but it was just took that one instance, and it was all just completely gone. So we have to be very careful. And this is another example of Vishvamitra Muni, and I'll read you this pastime. He was a great king, a kshatriya, who renounced his kingdom and took to the yoga process in order to become more spiritually advanced. At that time, the meditational yoga process was possible to execute. So this is in a different yuga. Vishvamitra Muni meditated so intently that Indra, the king of heaven, noticed him and thought, this man is trying to occupy my post. The heavenly planets are also material, and there is competition. No businessman wants another businessman to exceed him. Fearing that Vishvamitra Muni would actually depose him, Indra sent one heavenly society girl named Minaka to allure him sexually. Minaka was naturally very beautiful, and she was intent on disrupting the Muni's meditation. Indeed, he became aware of her feminine presence upon hearing the sound of her bangles, and he immediately looked up from his meditation, saw her, and became captivated by her beauty. So, and these were sages. These were a different time and a different example, but these were just examples of how even sages could become so very quickly disturbed and interrupted. What to say of here in the material energies of Kali Yuga? And so how do we guard against this? I mean, how do we really protect ourselves in life? And it's like I said, it's not just the sex desire or things. It's anything can grab us. Anything can grab us and pull us away from the Lord. We can even become, ultra focused on something that is just drawing all of our attention, right? And that ultra focus that's pulling us away. And I can give an example from my own life recently for my business. I've been trying to plan this conference and feeling very disturbed whether or not we're going to get enough attendance. We already have money down on the room. There's a lot of, variables if anyone's ever done any event planning out there. So there's a lot of variables in the mix, promoting this and that. And for about 2 weeks, my mind was so agitated with anxiety of whether we were going to be successful, right? And it was just complete and utter mode of passion. I was just like, we have to do this. I was just consumed by it. And, one morning I was chanting and it came to me. I was like, the answer, came to me just how to get it off my mind. I realized I'm like, this is all just material. And then I was talking to a senior devotee, and she's a Prabhupada disciple, and she was so beautiful. And she said, "How is this affecting your health? How is this affecting your sadhana?" And I was like, "It's been bad. I'm not sleeping. I'm not focused." And I said, I have to constantly remind myself that Krishna's in charge. I'm so focused on whether or not I'm going to be successful in this situation, but yet at the end of the day, I have no control over the matter. So much is on the line, but I have no control over the matter. And so as I was talking it through with her, and she was super sweet and encouraging with me, um, it helped me realize, ultimately this is where we surrender in on our path. So we can get so easily pulled into these things. And I suddenly, I was cruising along, things were good, and suddenly I started to get nervous. And then suddenly that anxiety turned to like fixation. And then it was like, do everything I can. Scramble, 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 scramble. Do everything I can in utter panic. And it completely devoured me. And not in a good way for a couple of weeks. And because of that, I wasn't sleeping as well. My energy wasn't good. And so I thankfully, due to this lovely senior devotee and my own prayers, I was able to come around and find my way out of it. But it was really that prayer because I had to turn myself back to the Lord. And I did that in this example, I did that by talking to a senior devotee. I got that sadhu sangha. And that saved me. That sadhu sangha and also chanting. So this is our way out. But we have to catch ourselves first. And that's the hard thing, is to be able to actually realize when we are completely, our minds have been hijacked. Maybe Cupid, maybe it was by something else, who knows? But if our minds have been hijacked by some lustiness, and like I said, lustiness can come in different forms. It can be utterly desirous of a successful conference, which sounds silly, but the scope of a business owner, it can feel like a big deal. So, you know, these are the things that can completely hijack our mind. But what is the remedy? The remedy is sadhu sangha, it's shravanam, it's kirtanam. That's it. That is how we get ourselves out, pull ourselves out of the quicksand. That's how we pull ourselves out of the lust. Because we have the only way to get ourselves out of that situation is to turn back toward the Lord. And sometimes we need a little help. I think, and I started writing a blog about this, which I'll publish soon, hopefully. But I was writing a blog about this when we're just feeling so stuck that even the tools that we have just feel like too much work, or they feel too far away. It's almost like this, like, you just get stuck in this almost compulsive compulsive treadmill, right? We get stuck in this compulsive treadmill, just in this direction. So we need to just pull ourselves, hopefully, like I said, even if we catch ourselves in that, sadhu sangha can be the best thing. Getting some association with someone that's not stuck, that can help us, or that's been through that can pull us out. And then chanting, leaning into Shravanam, leaning into Kirtanam. These are the lifelines that can really pull us out and bring us back to focusing our direction and energy on our relationship with the Lord. That doesn't mean we stop doing the things that we have to do. I still have to continue on with this conference and hope that it'll be okay. But now I don't have concerns about it because I feel a lot more at peace in my mind and my heart. It'll be fine. It'll be the way it'll be. But it took me a bit to get there. Um, but now I feel like I can give more energy to Lord and give more energy to my sadhana. And that's, to me, that's the ultimate goal, is that if we can just free ourselves up from those passionate pulls into material life, we still have engaging in those things, but it's almost like, you things are working over here, you're checking in on them, you're doing the things you need to do, and then you're back here. You're giving your main focus and your energy to that relationship with the Lord. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to continue on with the rest of the topics tomorrow morning in person. So please join us at the temple if you can. 7:30 or even earlier. And any questions, comments, thoughts, feedback, corrections, I am all ears and here to, yeah, answer them.
Hare Krishna. I think you narrated it very well, Mataji. This is like I always feel that because if you have something passionately working on, you totally forget God, and sometimes you start doing the bargain. Oh, if you do this to me, I'll be doing more rounds or something like that.
Yeah.
So I know how we get caught up in all this. But yeah, definitely. I was trying to look for a solution. Thanks for providing that. Maybe Sangha, and really that helps, I guess, because that also diverts our mind from like this marathon of one thing. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Sadhu Sangha is great. And especially if it's someone that we can actually share what we're struggling with. This particular um, person, I was able to share my heart and say, I'm really struggling with this. And it seems material, but she was very sweet and being able to help me work through that. So Sadhu Sangha is essential, and it's the association, but it's also the sharing of one's heart that can really make the difference. And we can see, even in DT's behavior, um, we can see this plea, right? She's so desperate. Her arguments to her husband are just like these desperate pleas, you know. And I'm going to get into that a little bit tomorrow, like where she's at, her mind and how she is so desperately making these pleas to her husband. And this is her thing that she's fixated on, right? I had a conference, someone else might have something else. We all have our things that we might be fixating on. But ultimately, if we stay fixated on that, we're not fixating on the Lord. And that is where we can start to spiral away in our spiritual life. So it's identifying that when we are fixating on something that is materially driven, that we can make a choice to seek some help in in those three things. So thank you. Any other shares or questions? Okay. Thank you very much. I did want to make one announcement. We are going to be starting a new thing. Myself, and Malati Devi Dasi, I don't know if some of you know her. We are going to be starting a new Bhakti Circle. It starts, we're doing two different times, so two different groups, and it's open to everyone. The Bhakti circles are in the mood of kind of the sage groups, if any of you are familiar with those. And we are going to be inviting those who want to join us. You can reach out to, if those of you Malati, you can reach out to me. We'll make some more things available in the coming days, but I just wanted to put a little plug. The Bhakti circles are going to be Zoom, 1 hour of just having a topic and then having a share and a discussion around that topic. And we do updates, we do challenges, and it's just a nice way to connect once a week for 8 weeks with some other devotees in a smaller setting on Zoom. Like I said, it is virtual. So I just want to put a little plug out there. I know Dronacharya Prabhu asked us to also do a plug in the temple. I won't be able to be at the temple on Sunday, so I thought I'd do a plug here while I had y'all. So yes, definitely hit me up on WhatsApp if you're interested. I'm at Vrindavaneswari. I'm on the circle or the WhatsApp group for Bhagavatam class. So hit me up there if you'd like. And yeah, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning. We will continue this discussion. So thank you. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayavicha
Chitanam
Patitanam
Pavanabhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavabhyo Namo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Namaha.
Namaha. Hare Krishna, everyone.